This is Research Like a Pro, episode 373, Heirloom Charts with Robert Stevens. Welcome to Research Like a Pro, a genealogy podcast about taking your research to the next level, hosted by Nicole Dyer and Diana Elder, accredited genealogist professional. Diana and Nicole are the mother-daughter team at FamilyLocket.com and the authors of Research Like a Pro, a genealogist guide. With Robin Worthland, they also co-authored the companion volume, Research Like a Pro with DNA. Join Diana and Nicole as they discuss how to stay organized, make progress in their research, and solve difficult cases. Let's go! Today's episode is sponsored by newspapers.com. Hi everyone, welcome to Research Like a Pro today.
Hi Nicole, how are you doing?
So good. Like I told you a couple days ago, I had a really exciting find in my mitochondrial DNA research, and I had looked at all the matches for this new test taker that I had tested, and nobody seemed to match. But then I revisited it as I was writing my research report and checking my work, and noticed that the person I had written down as the most distant matrilineal ancestor wasn't showing in the family search tree anymore. So I looked up some other trees and ancestry and found one that led right back to a common ancestor in the 1700s. And it was so exciting. I had to get up and do my happy dance. I have never found a mitochondrial DNA match with a common ancestor before. It's always just been trees that don't really, match up. And I just assume the matches are back so far that we haven't got the genealogy far enough to figure it out. So it was really exciting. And now I kind of have an idea of what I want to work on in the next DNA study group.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yes, that is really exciting. That's amazing. I haven't seen any mitochondrial matches either in any of the kits that I work with. So
right, there's matches, but we just can't find out how they're related. And
right.
And usually, in DNA courses, we learn or teach that you don't usually fish for matches in the mitochondrial DNA testing pool. You target test people to see if they match or not. So I just thought it was interesting to find one.
Exactly. Well, it gives you hope for the future. Maybe as more people test and get their research done and their trees out there, we'll have more success with mitochondrial and Y DNA as well. Because we often have the same challenge with Y DNA with a lot of matches, but the trees don't seem to go back to the same common ancestor. So.
Right, yes. What have you been working on?
Well, I've been getting my research ready for the practicum for the Salt Lake Institute of Genealogy's fall session. I am presenting a case in Angela McGee's course. It's an advanced practicum where 5 of us who are presenters are giving the students the research question and some clues about what to research for the next week, and then they go off and spend 10 to 15 hours trying to solve the case, and then we come back and give the answer and see how everyone did. So this has been fun. The trick has been putting together the background information. How much do I want to give them up front? What kind of clues do I want to give them? Because obviously, if it's a tough case, I've been working it for years, and you've got to give people enough that they can find something in 10 to 15 hours. But I don't want to give them too much. So anyway, it's been kind of tricky thinking about how to work that all out. So I think I've got it done. I might tweak it a little bit more, but I'm excited to share my research with this group.
Good job. That sounds like a large project that you've been doing, getting that together.
Yeah, and in the process of that, I've actually made some more discoveries because, I don't think we're ever quite finished with our research, even though we think we might be. We have one more little question and we go find something else. And so that's why we love what we do, because it's just always such an adventure.
It is an adventure. All right. Well, our next webinar in the Research Like a Pro webinar series is going to be my class that I'm teaching about migration and motherhood. DNA confirms Sally Keaton Reeves' family and Western path. And I've been working hard on this, finishing this report up all of the last month, and it's been really neat to connect up these family lines that are children of Sally. And when I started researching her for the 14-day Research Like a Pro challenge, I didn't realize how much I would find and all of the DNA connections and all of the children that she had that were kind of the connections were lost in burned counties and just indirect evidence. So I'm excited to share that. And so that will be taking place on September 20th at 11 a.m. Mountain Time, which is a Saturday. And if you haven't registered yet for our 2025 webinar series, you can still do that and have access to all the previous ones for the year. Also, our next study group is Research Like a Pro with DNA in February of 2026. So be thinking if you'd like to join us then, and registration will begin in December. We are excited to be going virtually to the Texas State Genealogical Conference on November 7th and 8th. And I'm presenting two classes, one about cotton farming through generations using tax records to track economic status, and AI and genealogy, enhancing your research process. And Diana is talking about small bites, big impact, crafting focused narratives to illuminate ancestral lives, as well as a lecture titled From the Embers, Uncovering Female Ancestry Through Cluster Research and DNA When Records Perish. So we'll be talking about some of our own examples in those. And as always, join our newsletter that comes out every Monday to get updates on new content from us.
All right. Thanks, Nicole. Yes, we are excited for the Texas conference. That's always a fun conference. And I'm excited for your webinar to see how you found all this great information on our lines. So thank you for researching our lines, because that's one that I don't have to worry about. It's so nice.
Yay,
I love
teamwork.
it. Right. Well, we are excited today to have a guest speaker who is going to tell us all about a really neat new product that he's got. This is Robert Stevens, and let me read his bio and then we'll meet Robert. So Robert has a bachelor's degree in music and master's studies in law at Pepperdine. His professional background is in securities and venture capital, but he started genealogical researching in 2010 when his wife Jodi suffered a massive aneurysm and was not expected to survive. Her life expectancy was less than a year. Jodi made him promise to get her into the Daughters of the American Revolution, DAR, to leave her daughters the legacy of their ancestors. Jodi did indeed join the DAR and has proven 27 supplementals. Robert and his wife are members of 41 and 44 different hereditary societies, respectively, including the Society of the Cincinnati and a gaggle of royal lineage societies. Well, welcome, Robert. So fun to have you here.
Well, thank you, ladies, for having me. I am a longtime listener and longtime client. It's very exciting today to be in the hot seat with the dynamic duo of you two.
Well, I had no idea about your wife, Jodi, so I am so glad she survived. Holy cow, that's a scary thing that you had to go through.
It absolutely was, and it was really the impetus for us getting involved in genealogy. When I was dating her, I asked her, tell me something interesting about yourself. She said, well, her maiden name was Prather. She says, I've always been told I descend from a Thomas Prather, who was a private in the Revolutionary War. And at the time, I thought that was probably the coolest thing I'd ever heard. Uh, I thought it was amazing. And I said at the time, I don't have anything like that in my tree, but I think it's great that you do. But that's how, that was the original start of it. But when she got very sick, um, the thought was, what are we going to leave for the girls from her? And that's what got us started on genealogy research. And yeah, as you know, when you open Pandora's box, you find a lot of things more, some of them much more interesting than what you were looking for.
That's exactly right. Well, that is really neat. I love hearing, your reason why, because I've not myself joined any societies, even though I believe we could really have a lot of those in our background. But I just haven't taken the time to do that. So I applaud you. That's a really neat accomplishment for both you and Jodi.
I have a question before we go on about the supplementals. Can you tell our listeners what that means to have proven 27 supplementals with DAR?
You bet. So when you join either the Sons of the American Revolution or the Daughters of the American Revolution, you prove a connection to somebody that provided service to the cause of the revolution. That could be a soldier that fought, somebody of notoriety. It could be somebody that paid a tax, or somebody that served on a committee or a jury. something like that that qualifies as patriotic service. A supplemental is when you find you have more than one of those in your tree. So if you say you join under one person and then realize, he had a father, and his father also paid taxes. That's the second person that you would be documenting is called a supplemental.
Oh, thank you so much. That has really helped me understand that term and hopefully our listeners too. Well, we aren't really talking about lineage societies today, so let's go on to our next topic, which is this awesome new business that you guys have created. So, tell us, what is heirloom cartography?
We are a family run business and we create customized lineage charts for lineage groups and individual people. It could be everything from a very simple linear descent from a person or a couple to a two-dimensional chart, like it looks like an upside down pyramid that expands through multiple ancestors. Maybe somebody wants to outline their Mayflower ancestry, or we did one that was a kind of this big spread of how many people served in the Revolution on both sides of the family of this individual, and that's what the product is.
That's neat. That's really fun. And it sounds like it's different than other charts out there. It's kind of got this focus on lineage and linear descent rather than like just big pedigree charts. Is that right?
Absolutely. They're all done individually based on what the client's need is. It isn't something that we just click print and send off to somebody. We spend many, many hours on design and development for what it's going to look like because and our website is heirloomcharts.com. You can see some of the projects that we've worked on. And it's really meant to be a family heirloom that you can keep through the generations. So we customize them based on what each client really wants to do.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of the examples you have, and they are beautiful. This one with the royalty and nobility that has some of the coats of arms on it is just stunning.
And in that case, it's a client that has 7 different gateway ancestors and really wanted to highlight how all of those different people, some in New England, some in Virginia, kind of all over the place, how they all tie back to Charlemagne and connect at various levels through the various king. So that one you can go crazy with it. So we had to kind of shave it down in terms of how many coats of arms are we going to display, how deep will it go, because our theoretical maximum chart size is 60 inches by 96 inches, but that's just so large. I'm not sure where you would put it. It'd be difficult to hang on the wall. So anyway, but yeah, they're all based on what somebody wants to portray.
Well, that's really neat. And I can see how this has completely grown out of your love for lineage societies and, having that legacy. So now you're just putting it into a lovely print form. So that's so neat.
Yeah, it ends up becoming a visual representation of the genealogical research and work that you've done in documenting your family history.
Right.
It could be everything from an individual person. We have one gal with the Colorado Mayflower Society that has, I think the number is 26 passengers. That will be just a really groovy setup once it's all done because you can kind of see how many of the 50. Yeah, I think there's 51 people there. She descends from half of them. How it all kind of lays together, and
Oh, my goodness.
yeah, and in that end, we've also got a limited edition. We know the artist drawing of the Mayflower that we'll either use on the chart or we can sell those individually too, and they're kind of impressive as well.
Absolutely. Well, how do you create these charts?
So they are all made individually based on the client's needs. Um, they're not kicked out of a program. As much as I personally love AI and the potential that it brings for automating things, for researching, every project takes many hours of painstaking review and design. So Abby, our designer, and my daughter has a degree in design, and Jodi and I, my wife, we do the research and review for accuracy's sake. We want to be very careful to only document lines that will really work under current genealogical standards. And at the end of it all, we use extremely high quality materials and framing. so that it's something that will last.
That's wonderful. I love that you guys are committed to standards.
It's very challenging, and we really, we don't want to put something up on somebody's wall that a few years from now someone goes up and goes, yeah, that line doesn't work anymore. We don't. That is not. We want to avoid that at all costs, as much as possible, because there's always new things that are being brought to bear all the time.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, and I've had clients that thought they were related to a Mayflower ancestor through a certain line, and we do the research, and that line is not proven, and then we have to go find one that actually can be true. It's just really tricky on some of these lines. Once the migration begins out west, we seem to lose connection, in Ohio or wherever they moved after they were in New England, especially for Mayflower. And then that's tricky to prove that connecting link, with records
Absolutely.
that Mayflower will accept, because they're pretty strict with who gets in there. So
And shameless plug for your work. One of the individuals that I know, we hired your firm to help us put together a proof argument with data that we could present to the Mayflower Society and say, this is the right Richmond, and here is why. And then
right.
that individual was able to get into the Mayflower Society, and it did take, I think, 2.5 years of review.
Oh yeah.
But thank you for that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that is what we do. We do the research, and often you do have to write those proof arguments because there is no document that states, the parentage, and you have to show through all the indirect evidence that this is the only way these people could have connected. So, yeah, I appreciate you reminding me of that. That's so neat. Well, and I was just going to say, this idea of having these huge charts and where do you put them on your wall? I've actually seen homes where an entire wall is a chart. So, an enormous chart taking up a whole big space. So, you may have to expand if you get someone that wants to have something like that.
But it would be nothing but fun, and we can do it. I always tell people that it's not even so much a cost or a shipping thing. It's just that it's a real commitment if we're going to put 300 or 400 names on your tree.
Absolutely.
Well, all this talk about making sure it's accurate, tell us more about where you get the information to kind of check and create the charts to make sure they are true.
So typically we like to start with record copies. Record copies, that's a kind of an industry term for genealogically approved applications. So an example would be if we're doing a Mayflower chart, I would ask them for a copy of their approved application with the General Society of Mayflower Descendants, and start with that so that I have a comfort factor that the data that we're going off of has been reviewed by somebody and it's accurate and it's correct. And even with that, we'll go through and make sure that the spellings are correct, that is it Catherine with a K or a C, or does it matter? Things along those lines. In certain other situations, we will do the research ourselves because my wife and I have some background there. But as you guys know, the researchers tend to have their own areas of expertise, be it geographic or time period. And in those instances, we do hire out professional research firms to put together the data that we have to make sure that the line that we're looking at it has genealogical integrity. I think that's super important.
I love that. And it's funny you mentioned Catherine with a K versus a C because I was just looking at my ancestor who sometimes it was Katie with a K, other times it was Catherine with a C. And so we can't really decide which way it was. And it probably didn't have a set way.
That's the message. We were doing one. In fact, we just finished it last week, but there were conflicting primary source documents. They're not, it's spelled both ways. In both, so you go, well, which one do you want to go with? Is it this one? Is it that one? And these are not like published genealogies. These are actual, records, wedding record, wills, probate. It's always very challenging.
Yeah, those original sources would, if they could just have consistent spelling, that would help me a lot.
Amen.
Well, also consistent names, because I have one court record where my ancestor is called by her nickname Polly, and then she's also going by Mary in the very same record. So she's Mary, she's Polly, which is actually nice because it helps me say, yeah, this is the same woman. It doesn't matter what she's called. Mary, Polly is the same person. So Yeah, we love genealogy. It's got so many fun little things like that. Kind of quirks, right?
Right.
Well, now let's have a word from our sponsor. Ever wondered what life was really like for your ancestors? With newspapers.com, you can explore the world they lived in through their eyes in their time. Search over 1 billion newspaper pages dating from 1690 to 2025 and uncover the stories that shaped your family's past. From birth and wedding announcements to obituaries and community news, these pages hold the milestones and everyday moments that connect you to your roots. But it's more than names and dates, it's about standing in their shoes. Picture reading the local paper your great grandmother once held, or stumbling on a forgotten article about your grandfather's first business. These aren't just clippings, they're pieces of your family's story. Newspapers.com turns curiosity into connection. Start your journey today at newspapers.com because sometimes the past isn't just history, it's a story waiting to be discovered. Come make infinite discoveries today on newspapers.com. Use promo code FamilyLockup for a 20% discount on your subscription. Well, Robert, I'm sure all of our listeners are wondering, how much do you charge for these charts? Are these going to break the bank, or are we talking pretty affordable?
That's a great question. So a basic chart can be done for, I think our current pricing is $159. So not crazy money. Custom charts, on the other hand, can be a multiple of that, and it's not just the time involved, but the materials and the framing. For example, if we need to bring in an outside research firm, that could be an expensive proposition because we want to leave them with also with documents and sources for where we came up with the data. So you get your chart, but you're going to get a copy of what we use to generate those connections and those ties uh, to there. And materials for any kind of a custom art project, it's just the sky's the limit. You could do them very reasonably, or you can go crazy if you really want museum quality everything. So it's kind of all over the place, but we try to price it so it's user friendly, so that any someone can get into it for 159 bucks and have come out with a product that they love.
That's really nice because I can see this being a great Christmas gift or birthday gift or anniversary gift, and maybe you don't want to spend a ton of money, but you just want something nice that's framed, that's got the genealogy to put on the wall. So, but then I can also see the other scenarios where someone really has something very extensive and, you know, we are willing to pay for things that are really important to us. So I love that you're very custom with that.
Yeah, and I also appreciate that there are high quality materials going into this. And looking at the your website, heirloomcharts.com, I like that you guys have some close-ups of the paper and the fonts and the colors and the mats and things. So it just looks like really beautiful paper and materials are used.
Thanks for that. We're really focused on the quality of the product. That's really the really pivotal thing. We don't want to just run this off a printer. And also, the quality of the material will indicate how long it will last, how long it will be able to stay. And if you're picking out framing, maybe somebody's home is kind of more modern, and they want a frame that will work within their design in their home. We have so many different options there that can fit where this thing is going to eventually be, because that's really the big question, right? Where are you going to hang it? If you have a very rustic house, you might want a certain type of frame that's going to work with your design. And I really have to give my hats off to our designer, Abby, and my wife, Jodi, for helping do that. And they provide guidance with folks too in terms of choosing something that's really going to look amazing for them to hang on their wall in there, as I like to say, in your office or your castle.
Love that. Okay, well, tell us, are you working on anything interesting right now?
So we just finished, and it was one of those hold your breath moments because we ran right up to the absolute deadline. But we completed a custom chart that is in production right now. That's 30 inches by 36 inches before matting and framing. To give you an idea, and it's one of our larger ones. And it outlines the lineage of a young couple that's getting married. We got asked to do a chart that would show the marriage of the two families. And the bride and the groom are people that are lucky enough to have really documented their lineage, are members of DAR, SAR, Mayflower Society. They're also members of the Order of the Crown of Charlemagne. And that side of the chart was just kind of a matter of formatting, how we're going to lay it out so that it's even. And then verifying coats of arms for notable folks that are on their trees. The groom side, however, it looks like nobody had done the work. But thanks to the Family Search World Tree, kind of as a starter, and also use of the full text search there on Family Search, we were able to prove his lineage to the Randolph family of Virginia, which brings the chart both bride and groom back to Edward III, King of England, and Philippa of Hainaut, his queen consort. If I say it's so, it just looks, it's just a staggering chart. It's just beautiful.
Wow.
We're also in the final stages of publishing our first children's book, which is a kid's book with a genealogical twist to it.
I love that. That's cool.
Well, I love that idea of doing this for a bride and groom, showing their lineages going back. That's such a neat idea. And I hope you'll have an example of that on your website when that's completed. I'd love to see what that looked like. Sounds so neat.
We absolutely will.
Good.
And the fun part about this business is that it's no day's the same. No project is the same. People will say, "I want to come up with this specific type of chart," and they can all be completely different. And this was a kind of an interesting concept. If you think husband and wife to be, they're getting married, and who are their people? And in that instance, we've got a good cross section. The bride has a lot of New England, and the groom has just all of this Chesapeake Bay settlers, all the early Virginia and this sort of thing. It's been very fun
That's
and
really neat.
cool to present. It's kind of a truly American kind of a chart.
Yeah, that's really neat. I love that. Well, now my curiosity is piqued. Tell us about your children's book that's coming up.
So our book is called William the Marshal, the Greatest Knight That Ever Lived. Think of it like a bedtime story for kids, toddler age to maybe 6 years old. And it outlines the rather extraordinary life of William the Marshal, who is the person that's credited with chivalry, among other things, and was kind of thought of as the greatest knight that ever lived. And it's a picture book with some great artistry and illustrations, but at the end of it, it is allows the parent or grandparent or the gift giver to, if they have any of the 280 or so published gateway ancestors, they can draw a connection in the back of the book from William the Marshal, the greatest knight, back right down to the kid that's reading the book. So it allows them to say, hey, this was an amazing knight hundreds of years ago, and he's actually your grandpa. So we've targeted this book towards um, selling it to members of the lineage societies, just as kind of a fun way for them, hopefully, to get their kids hooked on their ancestry from a very young age.
Oh my goodness. I love that. I love the idea that in the back of the book, the parents could fill it in. And the book does show the gateway ancestors at the end.
Yeah, we have a link to it.
Okay.
There's just a bit. That's a pretty expansive list,
Yeah, I would say so.
and I'm afraid to put it down in writing,
Yeah.
a list, because also gateway ancestors come and go. One of my favorite things are BGAs, which are bogus gateway ancestors, where people say, "Oh, I descend through Thomas Bradbury," and then you go,
Yes.
that doesn't work anymore, right? And here's why. So you don't want to. I don't want to put that stuff down and then have somebody come back later and say, it's easier
Oh,
for me
that's
just
good.
to point them to the current sources and say, check here.
Yes, that's brilliant.
Well, I just put his name in Family Search, found him, and clicked on View My Relationship, and it says he's my 21st great grandfather.
Well, then there you go. You need a copy
Wow.
of
So I
this
need to
book
get
for
the
your
book.
children. I'll send you one. I'll send you one.
Is that
Yay!
through my line or your dad's line?
Let me scroll down 21 ancestors. And oh,
That's
it's
really
through the elder line. So it goes through
oh,
dad and then his dad and his father. His father goes back on the elder line all the way till Charles Elder, then goes through his mother, Margaret Hill. So I have proven this back to you about Margaret. I need to check the research going back. And then it goes to Simon Nichols, who looks like he was a patriot. So maybe I could join DAR. And then goes back really far to the 1100s.
that is so cool. Well, that might be a fun Christmas present for grandkids.
Yeah, all the grandkids in our family. That would be fun. We should do that, Mom.
And we are working on, after that one, That this is about a knight, right? We're working on another one that is Philippa of Aino, which is Edward III's wife, and it's more kind of written from a girl's perspective because she was a
Oh,
great queen, and
yeah.
she did some amazing the historical figures. She brought the textile industry to England. That was one of the things she did, among others. She had a really interesting life. So a boy version and a girl version.
I love that. Thank you for thinking of the girls.
Absolutely.
Yay. And what I love about these books is that they are not figures that most people know much about. At least I don't. And so it's fun to hear about different historical figures and learn about them.
Amen to that.
So that's awesome. And yeah, I need to get these for my kids. So thanks for writing books my kids might like that I want to read to them. They always want me to read Spider-Man, but
If I would have had this book as a little boy, I would have been sleeping with a plastic sword, and I would have been wearing a night hat everywhere I went. And you never know. I would have been, chainmail, something. It would have made a big difference.
yes. Okay. Well, where can people go to learn more or order one of these?
Head to our website, which is Heirloom Charts. That's HEIRLOOM charts.com. And check out the services section and the shop section. There's some images on there of some of the projects that we've done. For privacy purposes, of course, we don't put everybody's charts up there, but it can give you kind of an idea of all of the various things that we've done. And the whole process is approximately 4 to 6 weeks for delivery, depending upon what we're working on and what they're asking us to do.
Fantastic.
Well, thanks so much, Robert, for meeting with us, letting us talk all about this fun new company that you've got going. And I just have to say, I love that it's a family business and that you're working with your daughter because I absolutely love working with my daughter. It's so fun.
Yay.
Wonderful.
So that's just so neat. And I think this is really a unique chart company. I am just really intrigued by it. And I think you mentioned that you guys were going to be at Roots Tech next year. Is that right?
That is our plan. We'd like
Oh,
to get a booth there. It's been on the list during COVID. We actually the year of that when everything was virtual, we had kind of shelved a chance to go there, not so much as an exhibitor, but as just as a guest. But yes, we intend to go to Roots Tech and set up a little booth. So we'll hope to see you all there.
oh yeah, we will be there. So that would be so fun to meet in person and to see some examples of what you're doing. So I'd love that. Well, thanks to everyone for listening, and a special thanks to Robert Stevens for being here with us. And we hope that everybody can go check out the website, the heirloomcharts.com, and see if maybe you're interested in one of these neat charts or joining a lineage society. So many fun things we talked about today. So take care, everyone, and we'll talk to you next time.
All right. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening. We hope that something you heard today will help you make progress in your research. If you want to learn more, purchase our books, Research Like a Pro and Research Like a Pro with DNA on Amazon.com and other booksellers. You can also register for our online courses or study groups of the same names. Learn more at familylocket.com/services. To share your progress and ask questions, join our private Facebook group by sending us your book receipt or joining our courses. To get updates in your email inbox each Monday, subscribe to our newsletter at familylocket.com/newsletter. Please subscribe, rate, and review our podcast. We read each review and are so thankful for them. We hope you'll start now to research like a pro.